I'm Tony, the safety manager here at DiSalvo Contracting. Every year, we take the time to refocus on what matters most, your safety. Whether you're new or you've been with us for years, we all have a role in making the job site safe and efficient. Today's training will cover the real-life hazards we face on interior renovation projects here in New York City, and how we prevent injuries, stay compliant, and look out for each other. Before we dive in, here's a quick look at who we are and what we do. DiSalvo is a general contracting and construction management firm based in Brooklyn, New York. Established in 1977, it has been delivering high-quality construction services for over 48 years. DiSalvo's portfolio showcases numerous successful projects in prestigious neighborhoods, highlighting their expertise in working with luxury residential spaces. By combining deep industry expertise, strong leadership, a commitment to worker and public safety, and a focus on client satisfaction, DiSalvo remains a leading force in general contracting, demonstrating its natural ability to evolve and succeed within New York City's fast-moving construction environment. From demolition to luxury interiors, DiSalvo builds safely, beautifully, and with pride. Follow us on Instagram at DiSalvo Contracting. Before starting our annual training, pay attention to this short video. We are all under pressure to get the job done. But regardless of how urgent or important a job may be, nothing is worth risking your safety. Whether you're a worker or employer, together we can make the workplace safe. Because no matter what you do, safety starts with you. A construction site is a place where hazards cannot be completely eliminated. Materials or equipment used for building infrastructure is one of the common causes of hazards on a construction site. Lead has been commonly used for many industrial and commercial purposes. Why? Because it is widely available, easy to remove, and easy to work with. It is essential, but lead is very toxic to the human body to the point that too much exposure causes damage to the kidneys, nervous system, blood, and it is suspected of causing cancer. The required OSHA permissible exposure limit for lead is no greater than 50 micrograms per cubic meter, average over 8 hours. PEL is equal to 400 per hour's worked. The PEL is reduced for shifts longer than 8 hours by the equation. Lead can often be found in batteries, cable and wiring casing, cast iron pipes, gaskets and connections, paint and surface coatings, radiation shielding, and structural steel priming. These are some of the activities where lead exposure can occur. Disturbing paint on structures, demolition, removing or encapsulating materials containing lead, renovating, and installing structures that contain lead. Emergency cleanup of lead-contaminated material. Transporting, storing, or disposing of lead-containing materials where construction work is performed, and doing maintenance work involving these activities. The World Health Organization, WHO, identified two primary routes of lead exposure. It is through inhalation because of some activities done on a construction site, such as burning materials containing lead, stripping lead paint, etc. The second route is through ingestion of contaminated food and water, high blood pressure, joint and muscle pain, stomach pain, loss of memory or concentration, anemia, and headache. These are just some of the early signs of too much lead exposure. And to control the exposure from lead, OSHA recommends that workers wear proper personal protective equipment such as gloves, coveralls, safety goggles, and approved respirators. OSHA also insists that employers need to provide their workers with effective lead removal products, such as lead removal wipes and decontamination towels. Keep in mind that hand washing with standard soap and water is not effective on removing lead residue from hands. Employers and employees also must know the importance of proper hygiene. Always wash your hands and face after work and before eating. Make sure not to enter eating areas wearing PPE. Clothes and shoes worn during LED exposure should not be taken home from work. Decontaminate your clothes or PPE properly before using it again. When working outdoors, stand up when of any plume. Use local exhaust ventilation for enclosed work areas. If it's available and possible, use lead-free materials and chemicals. Use dust-collecting equipment and wet methods to decrease dust. Keep an eye out for any symptoms of lead exposure, such as severe abdominal pain, headache, and loss of motor coordination. Immediately inform your employer if you develop signs and symptoms, and practically everywhere, on the job site and in many commonly used products. There are several different types of chemical hazards. There are toxic chemicals that can have a poisonous effect on a person. There are carcinogenic chemicals believed to cause cancer after exposure. There are corrosive chemicals causing visible destruction or alterations. There are irritants chemicals causing an inflammatory effect, and sensitizers chemicals causing an allergic reaction in tissues. There are also flammable liquids that emit vapors that may catch fire, and there are combustible liquids that combust after being exposed to high temperatures. These chemicals may cause physical damage to the body. They can have chronic effects, a disease that develops over time, or acute effects, symptoms that appear or change rapidly. There are a variety of ways in which chemicals can be exposed to the body. The primary methods of entry are inhalation, chemical entering the body through breathing, absorption, skin contact with a chemical, and ingestion, eating or drinking of a chemical. Chemical safety begins with a written hazard communication program, which covers how chemical hazards will be addressed on the job site and will include a list of all hazard chemicals present in the workplace. All workers who may be exposed to hazardous chemicals should review the program. There are two primary methods to communicating chemical safety information. 1. Ensuring containers of hazardous chemicals are properly labeled, and 2. Maintaining safety data sheets, or SDS, which are sources of detailed information on the hazardous chemical. Labels provide an immediate warning of hazards. Product manufacturers are required to provide labels on all shipped containers with information, including product identifier or product name, signal words like danger or warning, hazard statements like fatal if inhaled, hazard pictograms that alert users of the chemical hazards to which they may be exposed. Each pictogram consists of a symbol on a white background framed within a red border and represents a distinct hazard such as a health hazard, flammable, corrosive, toxic, and irritant. Precautionary statements like do not eat, drink, or smoke when using this product. And lastly, the name, address, and phone number of the responsible party. It's important to ensure that all containers on the job site are clearly labeled, so you know exactly what is in the container. A battered or old label might be hard to read. If this is the case, make sure to replace the existing label with a new one. That includes the product name and general information concerning the hazards of the chemical. In addition, if you're transferring something from the manufacturer's container to your own container, must be labeled unless you plan to use up all the product and the container will be empty at the end of the day, then you don't need to label it for that day. SDS stands for Safety Data Sheet. Safety data sheets serve as the source of detailed information on a particular hazardous chemical. It's required that all product manufacturers and distributors provide safety data sheets to its users. If you didn't receive an SDS from your supplier, you should request one or visit their website to download. SDS have a uniform format and are divided into 16 sections. The SDS contains important information such as the chemicals, health hazards and flammability, first aid and firefighting measures, precautions for safe handling and storage, appropriate engineering controls, personal protective equipment or PPE is needed, and emergency procedures for spills. All SDSS must be readily accessible to workers when they're on the job site. Storing your SDS sheets in a binder in a central location where easily accessible, for instance in a pickup truck on a construction site, is a common practice. The SDSs can also be kept on a phone tablet or computer as long as the workers have immediate access to the information when it's needed. Also, in the event of a medical emergency, hard or physical printed copies of the SDS must be made available immediately to medical personnel. Finally, follow the appropriate safe practices when working with any hazardous chemical. Familiarize yourself with chemical hazards on your job site, as there may be more than one hazard for each type of product. Before working with a product, read the safety information on the label and the safety data sheet. Use the proper personal protective equipment such as gloves, eye and face protection, coverall and respirators. Chemicals should always be kept in their original container and stored in accordance from the manufacturer's instructions. Keep flammable and combustible chemicals away from heat sources. Dispose of any excess product correctly, not down the drain. Spills should be cleaned up immediately. When working with corrosives, an eye wash or shower must be readily available for immediate emergency use. If chemical exposure has occurred, the worker should seek the appropriate medical care. Workers using chemicals should wash thoroughly before eating, drinking, smoking, and leaving the job site. Chemicals are found all over the job site, and some of them are more hazardous than others. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, is important for every construction worker. Every worker on the job site should have and use the appropriate PPE that minimizes exposure to a variety of hazards while working on the job site, such as protecting against sharp edges, falling objects, flying sparks, and chemical splashes. PPE that are typically used on construction job sites includes hard hat, safety glasses, face shields, gloves, work boots, earplugs and masks, and respirators. Hard hats protect you from falling or flying objects, and some are rated to protect against accidental head contact with electrical hazards. You should put it on from the moment you set foot on the job site until the time you walk off. And make sure you check the hat's ratings to ensure it's the right hard hat for the tasks at hand. It should be worn according to manufacturer's specifications. Hard hats are made up of two basic parts, the shell and the suspension. The shell protects you from the impact, while the suspension serves as a shock absorber, and both are necessary to provide protection. Hard hats must meet ANSI standard Z89.1. Keep your hard hat in good condition. Do not drill it or paint it. Inspect your hard hat to make sure it's in good condition, checking for dents or cracks. The hard hat suspension needs to be replaced yearly, and the shell must be replaced every 5 years. Harsh chemicals and extreme temperatures can make a hard hat degrade more quickly and must be replaced more frequently. If the hard hat has taken a blow or electrical shock, it must be replaced immediately. Eye protection and face protection should be chosen based on what tasks are being performed, such as impact from flying objects, chemical splashes, harmful dust or radiation from welding. You must wear impact-resistant safety glasses anytime you could be exposed to flying material, even if you are not working directly with that material. All eye and face protection must meet ANSI standard Z87.1, 87.1. Goggles should shield the eyes against flying fragments, paint, or chemical splashes and spray particles. Keep in mind that some goggles are not made to take impact. Face shields protect the entire face against exposure to impact hazards, flying objects, wood chips, and chemical splashes. Always check the shield impact ratings to make sure it can withstand impact hazards. Foot injuries like nail punctures, twisted ankles, and crush injuries are common in construction. PPE for your feet can lessen or sometimes prevent these injuries. On the construction site, you should wear shoes or boots with slip-resistant and puncture-resistant soles, and safety-toed or steel-toed footwear to protect those from falling objects and crushing injuries. Safety footwear must meet ANSI Z41 or ASTM standards. Tennis shoes are not acceptable footwear on a job site. In construction, you may also be exposed to many tasks that require hand protection from sharp or rough objects, chemicals, electricity, and flames. Wear the right gloves for the task at hand and make sure they fit properly. The most common gloves worn on the job site include gloves with a rubber palm to provide basic protection for minor cuts. Chemical-resistant gloves when working with wet concrete, mortar, adhesives, or solvents. Welding gloves made of leather for use around heat and flame, and rubber insulating gloves and sleeves when exposed to electrical hazards. Some jobs in the worksite are loud and they require hearing protection to reduce the amount of noise that gets through and lessen the risk of long-term hearing loss. You should use earplugs or earmuffs when using tools like drills, powdered actuated tools, pneumatic nails, grinders, and other heavy loud equipment. The noise reduction rating is used to determine the effectiveness of hearing protection. The higher the noise reduction rating, the more reduction in sound exposure. When using earplugs, always make sure to follow the manufacturer's directions and how to properly wear them. On the job site, there are some common materials like paints, insulations, sealants, and dusts that can harm you if inhaled. This is one of the most common ways chemicals can enter the body. When used, respirators can remove contaminants from the air. The most important steps in using any kind of respirator is to ensure a proper fit to protect yourself from harmful dust, vapors, and sprays getting into your respiratory system. Using the right PPE is one of the most important safety tips
to prevent serious injuries from working on the job site. So be smart and be safe.
Housekeeping and safety go hand in hand. Good housekeeping is not only about keeping a clean job site, it lays the foundation for accident and fire prevention. The key is removing hazards so you don't have to work around them. Poor housekeeping can cause accidents, such as tripping over loose objects on floors, stairs, and platforms, being hit by falling objects not properly stored, slipping on greasy, wet, or dirty surfaces, hitting protruding objects, poorly stacked items, or misplaced material, cutting, puncturing, or tearing the skin of hands or other parts of the body, on projecting nails, wire, or steel strapping. To maintain a safe job site, housekeeping should be done regularly throughout the shift. And before you begin the job, make plans for the adequate disposal of waste and material. Make sure work areas are sufficiently illuminated, clear, and litter-free. Place waste containers and dumpsters in convenient locations. Do not let trash pile up, so pick up debris and properly dispose them in the dumpster or other suitable container to prevent fire and tripping hazards. Also keep all walkways and stairways throughout the job site free of materials such as tools, hoses, power cords, and supplies to prevent tripping. Always be on the lookout for protruding nails from lumber, and make sure you remove or hammer the nails flush with lumber to eliminate exposure to puncturing or laceration injuries. Spills should be cleared up as soon as possible, especially if there is a chance for someone to slip or if the liquid itself is hazardous. Store tools and materials where they are easily accessible, and remember to eat and drink in designated areas on the job. Fires. Fires are another hazard that can be prevented with good housekeeping practices. Catastrophic fires can happen on residential construction job sites because employees are often working with numerous flammable combustible materials during hot work such as welding or using temporary heating devices. Fires can result in serious damage to property, injuries, and even death. Make sure you know our company's fire protection plan, which includes the location of fire extinguishers, steps to warn others, and notifying the fire department. Ensure that evacuation routes, exits, fire extinguishers, first aid stations, and electrical panels are all easily accessible. It is important to follow established safety practices so you and others are protected while working. Flammable or explosive materials should be properly stored in marked containers and separated from other materials. Keep flammable materials away from heat sources, such as blowtorches or space heaters. Do not store flammable or explosive materials on stairways or exits, and never store liquid propane gas inside buildings. Gasoline and other flammable liquids must be stored in safety cans, outside or in an approved storage. Never smoke near flammable materials or in the area where it's stored. Smoking is prohibited on all construction sites. When using temporary heaters, follow the manufacturer's manual and make sure they are on a stable, level surface in a well-ventilated space. Keep them away from walls and other flammable materials like paper, wood, or other scrap. Before you begin hot work, such as welding, cutting, grinding, protect the immovable fire hazards and take steps to confine the heat sparks. Fire extinguishers should be easy to see and be within reach. Fire extinguishers will typically be multi-purpose ABC that can put out most fires. ABC stands for Class A, combustible material like wood, paper, and cardboard. Class B is flammable combustible liquids like gasoline, paint thinner, and kerosene. Class C is an electrical fire. It's important to remember to only fight a fire if you have been trained to do so. An easy way to remember how to use a fire extinguisher is the PASS method, which spells out each step you should take to use the extinguisher. P is pull the pin. A, aim at the base of the fire. S, squeeze the handle and start shooting the extinguisher as you approach the fire, but always keep a safe distance away. Last S stands for S, sweep, while you are shooting the extinguisher. Move it back and forth in a sweeping motion, still aiming at the base. This ensures that you get good enough coverage of the area that is on fire. Even when you may take all these precautions, the fire may still happen. In the event of a fire, alert and make sure all workers exit the building and immediately call 911. We are all responsible for job site safety. Good housekeeping and fire prevention gives homeowners, customers, and visitors a good impression of our job sites and commitment to safety and quality work. Construction work often requires moving materials around the job site. When moving materials manually by hand, make sure you can get to it without hurting your back. Make sure stored materials don't block access to or from an exit, like the stairs or in front of doors. And make sure storage areas are kept organized and clean, so nobody trips on materials. Do not exceed maximum safe load limits of floors used for storage. Manually lifting of heavy items is one of the leading causes of injury in the workplace. The main risk factors associated with injuries in manual material handling include awkward postures, repetitive motions, forceful exertions, pressure points, and static postures. Repeated or continual exposure to one or more of these factors can initially lead to fatigue and discomfort, and many times more serious injury to the back, shoulders, hands, wrists, or other parts of the body can occur. But there are ways to lessen and avoid injury exposure whenever possible. The following safe practices can help. Always seek help when lifting heavy loads, avoid awkward postures, avoid holding items for a long period of time, be aware of weather condition. When carrying material across the job site, make sure you can see where you're going and take the clearest path. always paying attention to where you're going. One of the best ways to avoid injury is to know the correct technique for safe lifting. 1. Stand close to the load with your feet spread shoulder width apart. One foot should be slightly in front of the other for balance. 2. Squat down, bending at the knees. Do not bend at your waist. Tuck your chin while keeping your back as vertical as possible. 3. Get a firm grasp of the object before beginning the lift. 4. Slowly begin straighten your legs. Do not twist your body during this step. 5. Once the lift is complete, keep the object as close to the body as possible. Order supplies in smaller quantities and break down loads off-site. Rotate tasks so employees are not exposed to the same activity for too long. Store heavier containers so they can be handled safely. Utilize proper handholds, including handles, slots, or holes with enough room for gloved hands. Always wear proper personal protective equipment or PPE to avoid finger injuries. Take breaks and break tasks into shorter segments to allow muscles adequate time to rest. Most injuries that happen as a result of materials handling and storage can be prevented by following these safe work practices. With good planning and awareness of potential dangers, your job site can be safe and injury-free. Ladder safety. In this video, we will discuss the best practices for ladder use and give you tips to keep you safe on every job. Having the right ladder for the job is the safest way to complete any tasks. So how do you ensure you are choosing the right ladder? It's important to understand the differences between ladders, including their function, ratings, and materials. First, you should select the style that best fits your job. There are 5 basic categories of ladders: step, extension, multi-use, podium, or job-made. A step ladder is a portable, self-supporting A-frame ladder. An extension ladder is also referred to as a portable ladder, but they usually have 2 sections that operate in brackets, allowing for adjustable lengths. Multi-use ladders have the capability to be set up in a variety of configurations. Podium ladders are self-supporting A-frame ladders that provide a large standing service, allowing workers to face any direction without needing to reposition the ladder. And the last category is job-made ladders, constructed on-site, usually out of wood, to fit very specific needs. To decide which type best fits your task, you need to determine the following. For what jobs we need the ladder? Will a ladder be used inside or outside? What heights will you need to reach? How much weight will be on a ladder, including tools and materials? Is there a possibility of working near electricity or power lines? Calculate the workload, include the weight of the worker, the tools needed, and the materials that will be used to complete the job. Then determine heights you will need to reach to complete the task. The maximum safe reaching height is usually 4 feet higher than the height of the ladder. For example, if you needed to reach a 10-foot ceiling, you could safely use a 6-foot ladder. Finally, you should consider the materials used to construct the ladder. Typically fiberglass. Harsh conditions or specific chemicals will affect your choice of ladder. For example, if you're working around electricity or power lines, you need to choose a non-conductive material such as wood or fiberglass. Ladders are like any other tools on the job site. They must be protected from physical damage and kept in good working condition to ensure your work can be done safely. Before every use, you should perform a visual inspection of the ladder. First, check for missing or damaged feet. Ladders may have either non-skid pads for use on hard surfaces, such as concrete flooring, or metal feet for soft surfaces, such as dirt gravel. Next, check the side rails and robs. Look for broken, slick, cracked, bent, or missing rails and runs. Defective or damaged ladders must be immediately tagged as defective and removed from service. Regularly inspecting and maintain a ladder will extend the life of the ladder and will help to ensure your work will be done safely. When using a stepladder, open the ladder so that the spreader bar is completely horizontal and locked. Then check that all 4 feet are balanced and have secure footing. Never use a stepladder in a closed and leaning position. To properly set up an extension ladder, you should place the ladder at 4 to 1 angle against its point of contact, and you'll need to secure it at the bottom or the top to prevent any sideways movement. Ensure that both feet are balanced and have secure footing. If you're on a hard surface, you should use the non-skid or rubber feet. When using the extension ladder for access, make sure the rails extend at least 3 feet above the landing surface or access point. Proper ladder setup not only helps to prevent injuries, but aids in the efficiency of the task at hand. Falls from ladders are one of the leading causes of fatalities and injuries in construction work sites. Here are a few reminders and tips to keep you working safely. First, always read and follow the ladder safety instructions and load ratings. These instructions are usually located on the side rails. When climbing on a ladder, you should always maintain 3 points of contact, such as 2 hands and 1 foot, to prevent slips or falls. Don't overreach. The maximum reaching distance is about 4 feet above the height of the ladder. Never place a ladder upon other objects, such as boxes, scaffold, or other unstable bases, in order to obtain additional height. And never use an improvised or homemade ladder or carry out makeshift repairs to a damaged ladder. Proper setup, use, and maintenance of your ladders will ensure a safe workplace and prevent serious injuries. Fall protection. Falls are the most common causes of work-related injuries and deaths in the construction industry. Fall hazards that are typical during construction include window and wall openings, leading edges, unprotected sides and edges, and floor holes. Whenever workers are exposed to falls of 6 feet or greater on most working surfaces, the use of fall protection is required. Conventional fall protection systems can be used to provide adequate protection from falls. Typical systems in residential construction include guardrail systems, floor hole covers, and personal fall arrest systems. A guardrail system is a barrier that is erected to prevent workers from falling to lower levels. Install guardrails around openings in floors and across openings on walls and windows where the fall distance is greater than 6 feet. Guardrail systems must be constructed of 2x4 lumber or equivalent strength material and capable of withstanding a force at least 250 pounds applied along the top edge. The top rail should be approximately 42 inches above the walking or working level, with the mid-rail about half as high. Install guardrails on low-sill window openings that are less than 39 inches high, where workers can fall to lower level. Install toe boards around the floor opens to keep tools and other materials from falling below. Guardrail surface areas must be free of hazards that may cause punctures or lacerations or that may snag clothing. Open-sided stairs must be protected with guardrails, the same way floors and wall openings are protected. And all stairs must have a handrail installed between 30 and 37 inches above the stair tread that runs the full length of the stairs. Personal fall arrest system is the system used to safely stop a worker who is falling from a working level. It consists of an anchorage, body harness, and connectors. It also may include a lanyard, deceleration device, lifeline, or appropriate combination of these. Read all manufacturer's instructions before using a personal fall arrest system and always follow them. Use a personal fall arrest system with a solid anchor point when installing roofing materials. Install anchors at a secure place on the roof according to the manufacturer's requirements. Anchor points used for fall arrest must be capable of supporting 5,000 pounds or twice the intended load per worker. A personal fall arrest system must limit the maximum resting force on a worker to 1,800 pounds when used with a body harness. A personal fall arrest system must bring a worker to a complete stop and limit the maximum deceleration distance of worker travels to 3.5 feet, 3.5. Be sure to inspect a personal fall arrest system prior to each use for any damage and remove from service any defective components. It is important to have a rescue plan when using a personal fall arrest system, including how a worker was fallen will be quickly rescued from the elevated position. Wherever open hole exists, a cover should be used. Cover open floors that are larger than 2 inches by 2 inches 2 by 2, with a secured cupboard that is clearly marked, hole or covered with paint or marker. The cover must be able to support at least twice the weight or load that would ever be placed on it by workers, equipment, or materials. On each work site, we have a competent person responsible for identifying fall hazards in which fall protection system will be used to protect workers. The competent person is also responsible for conducting regular inspections of the fall protection equipment and systems and has the authority to stop work if unsafe conditions exist. To ensure the safest working environment, it's important to recognize any fall hazards and address them immediately. While many workers are exposed to electricity as part of their daily responsibilities, electricity is an unseen hazard, and many workers are unaware of the risks and hazards present in their workplace. In addition, due to the dangerous nature of electricity, most incidents resulting from electrical hazards can often be life-altering or fatal. It's important to understand and recognize the top risks and hazards involved from working with or around electricity and a proper technique to mitigate to control this hazard. The most common causes of electrical incidents and injuries come from contact with overhead power lines, lack up or improper ground fault protection, grounding paths missing or discontinuous, improper use of extension cords and equipment, and working on energized or hot electrical circuits. The main types of electrical injuries are burns, electrocution, which is always fatal, falls resulting from contact with electrical energy and electric shock, missing switch plates or receptacle covers around electrical outlets, and missing covers on breaker boxes can lead workers being exposed to live electrical parts, so receptacle and switch covers must always be installed. Where is live power to the outlets? The use of electrical equipment causes wear and tear that can lead to exposed wires, damaged insulation, and short circuit. Without proper GFCI protection, any of this condition can lead to ground points in electrical current through a worker body and cause electrical burns, fires, explosion, shock, or electrocution. To avoid these hazards, use GFCI protection and use doubled insulated, properly grounded tools and equipment, and followed manufacturer's instructions for proper use, and always inspect all equipment and tools before use, and remove from service any tool with frayed, damaged cords or missing ground pins. Most electrical tools and equipment have safety features built into them by the manufacturer. Examples of misuse of equipment are using electrical cords or tools with worn or damaged insulation exposed wires, using modified cords or tools that may be missing face plates around it or insulation, fabricating extension cords with Romex wire for using junction boxes designed mounting to the power cord, placing them on the floor, using a vertical outdoors when was only designed for use indoors, and not using 3-wire extension cords designed for hard or junior hard services, typical construction usage. It's important to only use tools and equipment approved to meet OSHA electrical standards and according to manufacturer specifications. Being exposed to energized live parts while working on or near them can be extremely dangerous. Never work on energized or hot electrical circuits until all power shut off or de-energized and the lockout-tagout system is in place, which protect workers from the dangers of the accidental or unexpected startup of electrical equipment. If the work can only be performed on live energized equipment, an electrical hazard analysis must be conducted, and safety-related work practices outlined in National Fire Protection Association must be followed. following these practices will keep you working safe. Silica is a common mineral found in many materials used on construction sites. Risk conditions include silicosis, lung cancer, and other respiratory diseases. However, high silica exposure occurs during construction activities that create dust, and most of them are common on every job site. Let's take a look at some steps to protect workers from the hazards associated with exposure to silica dust. Identify tasks that involve exposure to silica. On every project, all tools and equipment must be inspected, operated, and maintained in accordance with manufacturer's instructions to ensure they are functioning properly. Check water flow rates, proper airflow rate, and capacity for vacuum equipment. Correct rotation of the blade for both speed and direction. Maintain and change saw blades and frequently change water. There are generally two main methods used to control silica dust: wet methods and vacuum dust collection systems. Wet methods use water to keep dust from getting into the air, and they are typically the best choice for controlling silica dust. Saws, drills, and other equipment with integrated water delivery systems continually feed water to the blade or cutting surface, reducing the amount of silica dust that becomes airborne and controlling exposure at its source. Only use water delivery systems, specifically designed for the type of tool and use, so that water is effectively applied and does not interfere with tool components or safety devices, and always follow the manufacturer's guidelines. When wet methods can't be used, vacuum dust collection systems are a good option. These systems are designed to capture dust at the cutting point. They include a vacuum and hose, a dust collection device, and a high-efficiency particulate air filter in the vacuum exhaust. Some operations where silica exposures cannot be controlled through wet or dry methods, additional protection in the form of respirators may also be needed. A certified filtering respirator that covers the nose and mouth, sometimes referred to as a dust mask respirator, must be used. After the job is complete, precautions need to be taken for housekeeping tasks such as dry sweeping to minimize silica dust. Workers should use one of the following cleanup methods to control silica dust exposure: a HEPA-filtered vacuum, wet sweeping, or use a sweeping compound to hold down dust. Silica is not just dust. It can pose significant health hazards, but with the proper precautions, exposure can be greatly reduced or eliminated, creating a safer work site.